Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Bad Roommates. First up we have Newish Roommate is a Creep by Maleficent Toe 5773. So I had a new roommate move in about a month and a half ago. The first week was fine. However, beginning in the second week, there has been a lot of concerning behavior that makes me very uncomfortable. I'm not sure if I'm overreacting or if I should trust my instincts on the situation. The first issue I had was the second weekend he lived here. I work Monday to Friday and have weekends off. He works Monday to Friday full days and half days Saturday and Sunday. The second weekend I was in the kitchen about to do a bunch of food prep to make my week easier, and do this often. As soon as I started, he came out in the kitchen and wanted to smoke bongs with me. I told him no, I was busy. I thought it would be left at that, however he proceeded to bring his bong out of the kitchen and set up his smoke sesh in the middle of the table I have food being prepped sitting on. He wouldn't leave the kitchen, and kept making comments about what I was doing, about the video I was trying to watch, etc. I just wanted to do my thing alone. The next day he tried to do the same thing, so I just went to my room and shut the door. That's when the knocking at my door and text messages started every 10 minutes. So I left the house to get away. He then started texting me every day for about 2 weeks, even though I never responded. After this, I started wearing headphones around the house to politely signal I just wanted to do my own thing. That's when he started walking through the kitchen every 10 minutes, no exaggerating, to go outside for a cigarette. Every time he walked by, he would pause and stand behind me, and just stare at me for a good 2 minutes before moving on. He would also grab stuff off the kitchen counter right in front of me in a way he would almost touch my breasts, reaching almost every time I used the kitchen. A few days after that, my other roommate mentioned that he was using the bathroom a lot, which is beside mine and her room, and every time he left the bathroom he would walk towards my bedroom door and just stand there for a few minutes before turning around and going to his room. After the first 2 weeks of this, I sent out a group text to my housemates about how certain behaviors were making us uncomfortable. He cooled it a bit for a week, but went right back to it. Well, now you know he's definitely aware he's a creep. Then I noticed that he was hanging around longer and longer in the mornings and leaving late for work. I had this bad feeling that he was trying to pin down when I left for the day. Until one day, there he was in front of the door in the morning I had to leave through. A few weeks later, I know this was exactly the case because he made a comment out of nowhere about how he would really like to have conversations before work in the morning. Then, last week, he stopped going to work on the weekends and just hanging around the house bothering me all weekend. Last weekend, before I had even gotten up for the day, used the bathroom, brushed my teeth or anything, the knocking at my door and text messages started. This weekend, he again didn't go to work, and as soon as I get up for the day, he is pacing back and forth in front of my bedroom door. Does he think that just existing near you is gonna make you want to date him or something? I had to leave the house just to have a day without him constantly forcing interactions. Lastly, the other night, I woke up just after midnight and went to the washroom to pee. I was only in there for about 2 minutes and didn't hear a sound. When I opened the door to go back to my room, he was standing in front of the bathroom door with nothing but his boxers on. Let's be grateful he had those on. And as soon as I opened the door, he bolted and ran back to his room. He had creeped up to the bathroom door so I wouldn't hear him listen to what I was doing. And it wasn't that he had to use the bathroom, because he wouldn't have run like he got caught doing something wrong. And he also didn't go back out of his room to use the washroom afterwards. I know there are things I'm forgetting because there's so many making me uncomfortable and feeling creeped on. I just need advice. Am I taking this the wrong way? Absolutely not. No, you're not. Or do I need to be concerned? It just feels like you won't take the hint that I'm not interested in him in any way and not want to spend time with him. Right, well, I think I definitely want to know how long you're going to be in that place. I would reach out to the landlord, maybe make them aware of the behavior and that is concerning and has been escalating. Don't hesitate to call the police if it does get worse. Hopefully it doesn't, but it sounds like it's been gradually escalating. I hope you have a lock on your door. If not, get a little travel lock or something you can put on that will make it more difficult for him to have access. I would be concerned about him being in the house alone when you're not there in case he's rifling through people's rooms. I'm sorry to put that thought in your head if it hasn't occurred to you, but the obsessive behaviour seems to indicate that. Definitely, it's not fair that you should have to leave, but I think most likely you getting out of there, if you have the option, as soon as you can without putting yourself in a difficult position, is the most viable option. I mean, ideally getting him out, but let's be honest, if we get him out, he knows where you live. I wish you luck with it, and I hope it doesn't get any worse and he eventually just gets bored. I mean, what I really want to do is tell you just to flat out tell him it's never going to fucking happen, but you never know how men are going to react. You never know how people are going to react, but it's a man in this situation. And he could become aggressive because his little Fifi's got hurt. Okay, there was extra info on this, I believe. Oh, there is, okay. So update. For about a month after my initial post, I spent as much time out of the house as possible. I would only come home to eat, shower, and sleep. He would still continue to prowl around my bedroom door at night. And then he was caught prowling around the bathroom door while I was using it again. That's when I contacted my property manager. You see, I should have read this part first, shouldn't I? And sent him an email outlining all these issues I had been having with him. The property manager asked me to file a police report, and that was done immediately. I mean, it is stalking, I think that's fair to say. My property manager also had a conversation with him regarding his inappropriate behaviour. Oh, that's nice, that's good. I had asked the police to hold off on talking to him right away because my other roommate was away, and I was alone in the house with him at that moment. The police did determine it was harassing behaviour, though. The property manager spoke with him on Canada Day, but nothing changed. For the following 3 weeks, I was still catching him around my door. There was also one incident where I went to have a shower, and he turned all the lights out in his room, sat in the dark and silence in his room for over an hour, to pretend he wasn't home. I think he did that so I would let my guard down and leave the bedroom with the door unlocked. I had also just happened to set up a decoy security camera outside my bedroom door earlier that day to deter him. I left my room to go make dinner and left my door open thinking I was alone in the house. I was in the kitchen, maybe 15 minutes, when he came running frantically and aggressively, looking terrified through the kitchen and out of the house. I believe he was creeping around my bedroom, saw the camera, got scared he was on camera and bolted. That night I made another police report, but I had to wait until the next day for the officer assigned to the case to be in. When I got home the next day, I had seen he had handled my laundry, which made me very uncomfortable given the circumstances. I followed up with the police and had 2 officers attend the house. This time they did speak with him. Through the entire conversation that the police had with him, warning him about his behaviour, he just laughed loudly and hysterically the entire time. That'll make people think you're sane. When I went back in the house after I was finished talking to them, I could hear him stomping around his room and angrily talking to himself. And then he stomped out of the house and left with a friend who came to pick him up. He didn't show up at the house again until the next afternoon, but when he did, he had a bunch of people with him. They all packed up his stuff and moved him. I haven't seen him since. Hey, happy ending! But it's only been a couple of weeks. Right, well, I do hope he's permanently gone. You could probably clarify that with the property manager. They'll be able to let you know whether or not he's, anything in that regard. But that sounds like... I wonder if you vacate a place, is there anything in the law that would let them just kick you out, or do they have to wait a certain amount of time? But I do hope he's gone permanently. If his people, it was amazing how these creeps have friends. They came and packed his stuff up. I don't think he'll be back, and I'm so glad that you will not have to move yourself. Maybe, and I don't say this to worry you, I really don't. Maybe talk to the property manager and say, hey, look, we'll pay for it, but we want to get those locks changed. Okay. Story number 2. So tired of feeling like a guest overstaying their welcome. By Thugwaffle47. I moved into a place I met maybe 4 months ago. I moved here after falling out with my last landlord. I stayed at that place nearly 4 years. I moved into my current place after looking at one other. I just kind of took the first halfway decent room I could find. Time was of the essence, kind of thing. So many different things I hate about living here. First, the room I'm renting is incredibly small. I don't have the exact measurements, but I'm guessing 10 feet by 10 feet or somewhere around there. My queen-size bed takes up most of the room, much smaller than my last room. Only one window compared to 3 I had before, and a tiny closet compared to the walk-in closet I had before. Second, no furniture. Last room I had was furnished, so everything here is just on the floor. Don't really have room for a nightstand or dresser or anything like that, unless they're very small. Maybe see if you can be allowed to put up some shelves, maybe? Third, there's no washer or dryer in the house. I live in a fancy neighborhood in Southern California. Most of the houses are near $1 million, and I'm sure some are over that. So I have to take my laundry to wash and dry at my parents' house. Not that bad, to be honest. It's kind of weird. If you live in a fancy neighborhood, it's weird that they wouldn't have their own laundry hookup. I don't see rich folks taking their laundry to get it done. I see them having someone come into their house and doing it for them with their washer and dryer. Anyway, where was I? I was having a grumble. I lost my place. Not that bad, to be honest. Gives me a reason to visit my parents. A silver lining. But for the price I'm paying, it's kind of bullshit. They also kicked me out of the refrigerator in the kitchen and gave me a 2x2 foot beverage refrigerator to use. When I moved in, I asked if it's okay if I use the kitchen and have people over occasionally. They said sure, just let us know. They later said, when you asked if you could use the kitchen, we thought you just meant cooking. Where the fuck did you expect me to put the pre-cooked food? Fourth, I'm paying $900 a month for this tiny room. Utilities included, but the people I'm renting from don't always have the air conditioner on. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't need to stay on constantly, but the people I live with will turn it off when they leave the house, and it's just me there. There's also been multiple times I've turned it on just for them to turn it off. Yeah, you don't actually live there as far as they're concerned. I'm sorry to sound callous about that, but that's how they're viewing it. You're a convenience to help pay the bills. It was 100 degrees yesterday, and they turned it off after I turned it on twice. Fifth, when I was looking at the room, they said, it's a gay couple, 2 guys, that their daughter would be here every other week. I thought, not a fan, but that doesn't sound bad. Well, there's people over here constantly. There's probably 5 people over here and 2 small children and an actual baby. I have no idea who these people are. Incredibly frustrating. I want to ask them, if you came home and I had a whole family worth of people you've never seen or met cooking and eating in the kitchen, would you feel comfortable? It's like I'm the one out of place here and I'm the one overpaying for a shit little corner of this giant house. They use my bathroom and are constantly going in and out of it, slamming the door right outside my bedroom. I've never even brought any friends or romantic interests over. Oh yeah, I doubt they'll act well the first time you do. I don't feel comfortable here, and much less comfortable bringing people I know to this shit show. Sixth, I thought they were the landlords when I moved in. My sister later did some online searching, and nope. They're subletting the room to me. Oh, I wonder if they're doing it with permission. They're paying $3,950 for this 5-bedroom house, so I'm basically paying a fourth of their rent for a tiny room in this house. Don't feel comfortable even spending time in the living room with all these random people. I forgot to mention, but they have more than one daughter. They have 2 daughters and 1 son, ranging from ages 10 to 16. Really makes it feel like it's not my house, so I just spend all my time cooped up in this tiny, hot, unfurnished room. The first or second month living here, they asked me to leave the house on 2 separate occasions. I mean, if that's not a sign that they see you as a guest, and a very unwelcome one at that. Once because their county caseworker came to evaluate the house because you're not meant to be there, and make sure it's fit for his kids to live here when not with their mom, and a second time when the property manager came to fix something. They straight up told me, yeah, no one knows you're living here, you can go somewhere else for the day. Fucking bonkers. Anyway, I had a rough last few months of unemployment, but I finally landed a really good job. I start on Tuesday, and I'm planning on moving out October 1st. I started looking around, and have already found plenty of better options. Just need to get settled at the job and start bringing in some money. Oh, to top it all off, never signed a lease agreement. Stupid, I know. Oh, no, that's about to work in your favor. I was in a rush to find a place, and took what I could. I don't know if they'll try to fuck me over when I leave because of that. I paid a $600 security deposit. Don't... Tell you what, for the last month's rent before you move out, just give them $300. Or don't give them anything. You don't actually live there. I'm thinking if they try to pull any bullshit, I can remind them I can just call the family services, county office, or whatever, and let them know that the people I'm renting from lied to them about the occupants of the house. Or I could find the company they rent from and let them know their tenants are subletting their property. Oh yeah, because they will get somebody else in that cage when you move out. I'm glad I finally have a good job and can't wait to get the fuck out of here. I can't wait for you to get the fuck out of there too. Well, as there's really nothing official, you can go when you want. You don't even have to give them notice. If they do try to screw you over with the security deposit, which honestly I expect they will, they don't sound like very nice people at all. As I say, just hold back a portion of your rent. Or if you could time it about when rent is due, you know, if you can work it that way, that'd be ideal. But as there's really nothing official, you go when you like, really. Fuck them. Alright, story number 3. Possibly. Am I the asshole for wanting to tell a couch surfer to kick rocks knowing they have no other options? One day at Tiff's? That probably makes sense, I'm just not getting it. Anyway, if a smart person realizes what that means, please let me know. A few months ago, we had a friend, Sarah, who was met with some unfortunate circumstances. She had been kicked out of the previous house sit she was doing and had literally nowhere to go. Yes, but for future reference, you must ask why they were kicked out. We decided we would let her stay for a few weeks while she figured things out. And of course, those 2 weeks have turned into multiple months. And our living room is now more her bedroom than a common space. She is not consistently employed and is usually just sitting around smoking or watching reels. I think I see a connection. We fear she has gotten too comfortable. Your fears are founded. And we all pay way too much for our apartment to continue to be okay with our common space being inaccessible and filthy for this long. Sarah does assist with utilities, however I can't charge her for rent. It feels morally wrong. Really? Does it? Is she taking up a space in your home that you don't have access to because that's where she's sleeping? I'm not saying charge her full rent. Maybe a couple $100. We're more wrong. As a compromise, I've asked her to assist with our 2 cats whenever me and my partner are away working for more than a few days. My partner and I asked Sarah to do 4 things while we were gone for 4 days: feed the cats, clean the litter boxes, give the cats fresh water daily, and send us photos of them daily. Here's where the problem begins. My cat's water bowl was bone dry when we returned. Only 2 cans of cat food had been opened. Should have been 4. And we could feel our older cat's ribs. The litter boxes were filthy. There was cold, hard cat vomit on my amp. Only 2 photos were sent to us, and it was extremely evident that Sarah had smoked joints in the living room, despite me explaining to her multiple times that she can't do that around my animals. We're all stoners, but we aren't going to risk our cat's health with our habits. It got to the point this weekend where I had to start messaging my roommate asking about how the cats were, because Sarah was taking hours to respond to me. Upon speaking to my roommate when we returned, I also found out that Sarah had been stealing other people's food frequently while we were gone, and lo and behold, some of our food was gone when we got home. This is not the first time we've asked Sarah to do something very simple, and she has blown it off either. We had asked her to be present while someone moved out of a room here to ensure the cats could not get out, and of course she blew that off. Didn't tell me until I was already out, and caused me to have to leave one of my jobs early to make sure my indoor cats would not be let outside. I lost money tolerating this. Everyone in the house is on the same page about wanting her out, and we have a meeting planned this evening to discuss further action. Stealing food, neglecting our animals, risking our cat's health by smoking around them is enough. Plus, she's not paying rent, so she's basically a guest you can kick out at any time. Hashtag not a lawyer. We need her to find another place to stay. Long story short, am I the asshole for wanting to tell her she needs to kick rocks? Does anyone have advice on how to do this as efficiently and painlessly as possible? We are concerned she'll tell us we're discriminating against her, as we've heard her say this before in other situations. Oh, let it get as messy as she wants to make it. Discriminating against her, indeed. Give her a week. And I think that's generous. She can go couch surf with somebody else. She's taken advantage of you long enough, and as you say, she's not even paying money to be there, and she's overstayed her welcome. That's the important thing to remember. It took me a sec to remember it earlier in the story. It's meant to be what, a few weeks? Now it's been months? Yeah, a few weeks. Time for her to go. She's overstayed her welcome, and that's grounds enough to ask her to go. Plus, kind of an asshole, isn't she? Story number 4. Nightmare Roommates by Reggae My Bitch, 69. Hi, I, 20 female, started university last year, and had to get an apartment instead of being in the dorms. After a week of searching, I found out I didn't get a dorm from 2 weeks before the start of semester, so they were already slim pickings. I finally managed to snag a bed in an apartment near my university. This was an apartment for 6 people, all students, and I was the last one to sign the contract with the owner. Besides me, there were 3 girls and 1 guy. If you can get one of those girls out and then go for pizza, you could have a TV show. One of the girls and the guy were in a relationship, so they roomed together, and the other 2 girls were in one room, and then myself and the last girl were in the other. The first night we had a meeting where we laid ground rules. Quiet time after 10 p.m. on a weeknight. There's one person responsible for keeping the shared spaces clean each week. Well, as long as it's not the same person. We each wash our own dishes as soon as possible. The cost of cleaning supplies should be divided between us. Otherwise, we all had our own things and food. We each had our own shelves and space in the fridge. Every time we enter or leave the apartment, we lock the door. That was mostly it for the rules, but we were all in agreement that we wanted to keep the space clean as much as possible. To make it easier, I'll give them fake names. The guy, 22, is Jake, his girlfriend, Amber, my roommate, 19, Lana, other girl, 19, Sophie, and her roommate, 20, Larissa. The first few weeks went smoothly. We all got along, sometimes we talked, but we didn't hang out too much because we all had different schedules. Then came the holidays, and I wasn't in the apartment from December 22nd to January 3rd. When I came back, I saw some trash piled up in the kitchen. The bathroom was a little dirty, but I didn't really want to think much of it, because I didn't know who was in the apartment, so I just cleaned up a bit, even though it wasn't my turn. Then, from the middle of January until the middle of February, I had winter exam season at my university, and I decided to study at home, and then only go to the city where the university is for my exams. I wasn't in the apartment for almost a month. Because of this, but during, Larissa started texting us on the apartment group chat about keeping the apartment clean and taking out trash, etc. It wasn't my turn to clean. The schedule was so my weeks were the first and last in the exam period. I was there and I did clean. I didn't think much of it, because it wasn't my turn. Exam season ends. Lana drops out and leaves the apartment. Throughout February, March, and April, I noticed that during the weeks when Jake and Amber were supposed to clean, the apartment was the dirtiest. They had their weeks one after another, meaning for 2 weeks at a time the apartment was not getting cleaned as much as it should have been. But I didn't want to be the one who ended up cleaning in their place because of what we agreed on. Cut to the end of April, there's a huge pile of trash in the kitchen, plastic, paper, bio, so big it was almost falling over. This time it was Jake's week. Again, Larissa started texting on the group chat, now outright telling Jake to take the trash out. This led into a fight, and Jake said, after what happened in January, Amber and I decided not to clean the apartment anymore, and we have our own trash in our bedroom. Did you stop using the rest of the apartment, Jake, you fuckboy? This was confusing as fuck, because at no point in time did they share that with us. Because you wouldn't have agreed to it. This went on for more than an hour, and I just had enough. I took out all the trash, had to make 3 or 4 trips for everything, and cleaned the rest of the apartment. As I was cleaning, Larissa came out of the bathroom, saw me, started laughing, went into her room where Sophie was. I heard them talk a bit, then Sophie stormed out of her room, told me to get into their room. Larissa was laughing, because her and Sophie thought it was Jake cleaning. Immediately they start telling me everything. During exam season, they were all at the apartment, and the same thing happened with the trash getting piled up. This was when Larissa went on the group chat telling us to clean. I guess they fought some in person as well. One day, Sophie took a trash bag and put it in front of Jake and Amber's door. Amber saw it, went to Sophie and Larissa's room and started going off on them. It would have been quicker just to take the trash out, girl, come on now. Saying, how dare they? This is so disrespectful, etc. Now, you know what's disrespectful? Not taking your trash out when you're meant to. Yeah, that's what's disrespectful. We talked some more, then I went back to cleaning. A few weeks go by. It's my week to clean, right after their turns. I was in the apartment when it was their turn, so this was my first time back after a while. It was Tuesday morning. I was always one of the first to wake up, because of my schedule. I went into the kitchen to make myself breakfast, and I saw some white stuff on the floor. I wasn't wearing my glasses, so I couldn't see clearly what it was. I went to get them and came back into the kitchen. I saw that it was moving. I looked closer. It's fucking larvae! Suddenly there was so much more than before. When I tell you it was everywhere, I mean it was fucking everywhere. I'm still pissed I didn't take any pictures, but in the moment I was so disgusted and appalled that it even came to this point, and I just started cleaning as fast as I could. Mind you, this was all happening about 30 minutes before I had to leave for uni. Somehow I managed to clean it all. I took out the trash, washed the trash cans, washed the floor, and everything. I could feel those shits on my body the whole day. I texted the group chat and said something along the lines of, I'm asking the same thing that was asked 10 times before. Please clean more. I couldn't care less about your bickering. We're all adults, and we should act as such, etc. Of course, I told them about the larvae and to check their food, if it's okay. Them not cleaning frustrated me, especially because Jake would always complain about hair in the tub. And there was a lot of it. Light brown, to be more specific. At the time, I had bright red hair. Good choice. Sophie was blonde. Larissa had dark brown. The only people with light brown hair were Amber and Jake, who had longer hair. By the end of the second semester, I realized I was the only one still following the rules. There were times I had people talking at full volume in shared spaces until 2 a.m., Jake playing video games and talking loudly in his room next to mine at 1 a.m. I woke up one morning to find the front door wide open, with Larissa's keys still in the lock. Her and Sophie went to a party the night before, came back at ass o'clock, loud as fuck. I know my experience with roommates wasn't as bad as some of the others I've read here, but for my first one, it was pretty bad. As far as I know, Jake is moving out when his contract ends at the end of September. Bye, bitch. Here's to hoping so does Amber. Bye, other bitch. Thank you for listening. And the fifth and final story is anonymous. I'm 20 and female, and currently studying HR at college. My roommate is 24 and female and goes to chef school. She moved in at the beginning of February this year. When she first moved in, she was actually a very friendly person. We got along really well, and over time we became extremely close. We would share secrets, give each other advice, talk about our personal lives, and honestly, I started seeing her more like a sister than just a roommate. However, there was always one little issue between us: her age. Because she is 4 years older than me, she would sometimes use her age as a reason I couldn't speak to her in a certain way. Now, I wasn't intentionally being disrespectful. I was speaking to her the way I normally speak to my friends when I'm comfortable. Oh, she thinks she's a mature adult. Yeah, I think once everybody's in their 20s, you're basically the same age at that point, especially when it's, well, barely 4 years? Come on now. Anyway, where was I? I normally speak to my friends when I'm comfortable with them. I actually have friends who are much older than her, and they never had a problem with the way I speak to them. But with her, if I spoke to her the same way she spoke to me, suddenly it was a problem. She sounds very insecure, but let's read on. She could speak to me however she wanted, but if I did the same, she'd scold me and remind me that she was older. Again, no, she's not. And I'm sorry, but being 4 years older than me doesn't automatically make you my manager. You're not my supervisor. Whenever she would scold me, I would stand up for myself. I am not someone who's just going to sit quietly while someone talks down to me because they're older. Despite that, we still remained close. Really? Really? Then there was another issue that I didn't initially know about. Hygiene. Before my previous roommate moved out, she would often complain to me about my current roommate not being very hygienic. At the time, I didn't really understand that she meant because their spaces were next to each other, while my space was separate. So I wasn't really seeing everything myself. Then my previous roommate moved out. My current roommate moved into the space closer to me. And that's when I started noticing some of the hygiene issues myself. A case of she who smelt it dealt it, eh? I'll be honest, it irritated me. But I didn't immediately say anything, because by this point we were close. I didn't want to ruin our friendship over household issues, so I mostly just kept cleaning. And when I cleaned the whole house, not just my own space. Eventually, though, I started feeling like the cleaning wasn't being shared equally. I kept quiet about it for quite a while, because I didn't want to create unnecessary drama. Then came the Monday incident. On Sunday, she had swept the house and then went to bed. On Monday, she was still at chef school while I was already home. I usually get home before her, so I decided to text her and simply ask, "Can you clean today?" That's literally what I asked. I wasn't waiting for her to come home so I could confront her. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't trying to embarrass her. She was at school, I was at home, and I sent her a text. She got angry and told me that she had already told me on Sunday. Now here's where I'm genuinely confused. I have some memory issues when it comes to small things, so I honestly don't know whether she actually told me on Sunday and I forgot. I don't want to accuse her of lying when I genuinely can't remember. But I also don't understand why asking a simple question about cleaning had suddenly become such a huge argument. I clarified that when I asked her whether she was going to clean, I meant the whole house, not just her own space, because when I clean the whole house. She then brought up the fact that she cleaned the whole house before, including the other side of the house even before I moved in, and she hasn't done it since. She also pointed out that she had cleaned while I wasn't there, and yes, she did clean while I wasn't there. But here's the context. It was the holidays, and I was staying at my parents' house. So I wasn't there to clean the shared spaces. From my perspective, someone still had to clean the house while I was away. But that wasn't even what I was trying to argue about. I wasn't saying, "You've never cleaned this house." I was talking about what had been happening recently, since I returned. I felt like I was doing more of the cleaning in the shared spaces, and I wanted us to share that responsibility, so I explained that to her. I told her that, since I'd been back, I felt like she hadn't been cleaning the shared spaces, and that when I clean the whole house, not just my side. And then I told her, "There's no need to jump down my throat, we can be civil about this." I wasn't trying to insult her. I was trying to tell her that I felt like her response to my simple question had become unnecessarily defensive. She told me that she wasn't jumping down my throat, and told me to mind my words because she hadn't used words like that toward me. What, words like clean? I then tried to explain myself further. I told her I wasn't trying to make her look like a person who doesn't care. She's doing that herself. I was talking about recently. The previous week I had cleaned the whole house and done the dishes, while the day before she had only swept. I also brought up the trash. The trash hadn't been taken out, and when I came home that morning, the house smelled like a rubbish bin. My point was simply that we both live there, so we should both be putting effort into the shared spaces. She then continued explaining the things she had cleaned and the things she felt she had already done. I explained again that I wasn't saying she never cleans, I was talking about what I had been experiencing recently. I even acknowledged that she had swept and said I appreciated it. But my point was that sweeping isn't the same as cleaning the whole house. The bathroom, kitchen, and other shared areas still needed attention. I wasn't trying to attack or disrespect her. I was asking that we both put the same effort into the shared spaces. And then came the sentence that really stuck with me. She said, "I think I'm old enough to know what cleaning is." The evidence of reality would dictate otherwise. And honestly, that's where it began, the age thing. Because this conversation wasn't about whether she was old enough to know what cleaning was. I wasn't questioning whether a 24-year-old knows how to clean. I was asking my roommate to contribute to the shared household responsibilities. Yeah, and she's trying to distract from the conversation and make it as if you're attacking her. It's what people like her do. Fartheads. She then told me that if this was how I thought, and I saw fit to speak to her that way, she'd appreciate my silence. You're going to have to communicate entirely through finger gestures then. And that was basically the end of the conversation. After that, we basically stopped speaking. That was a great kindness that she did for you. And honestly, that is probably the craziest part of the entire situation, because this wasn't some roommate I never liked. This was someone I had become really close to. We shared secrets. We gave each other advice. We trusted each other. Well, you trusted her. We basically treated each other like sisters. And now we're living under the same roof and barely acknowledging each other. But there's another issue that has made everything more frustrating: the rats. There were never rats in this house before she moved in. Now we're dealing with rats. And before anyone says, well, rats can just appear, I know. They came with their queen. I'm not saying my roommate personally summoned the rats. I'm saying that there are no hygiene concerns in the house. Rubbish and dishes have been an issue, and I don't think this situation is helping. I already told my landlord about the rats. I've also tried addressing the household issues with my roommate. At this point, though, we're barely speaking, so I don't even know how to approach her about anything more. And that's honestly what makes this whole thing sad. We went from being extremely close to basically becoming strangers, and all this started with me asking, "Can you clean today?" Apparently, those were frightening words. I don't think I'm wrong for wanting the house to be clean. I don't think I'm wrong for wanting the shared responsibilities to be divided fairly. And I don't think being 4 years older automatically means you get to speak to me however you want, while expecting me to speak to you differently because you're older. Again, 4 years, fuck's sake. But at the same time, I know there are two sides to every story. I can admit that maybe I could have handled certain things differently. Oh, let's not go down that road. Maybe she genuinely feels like I'm disrespectful. Oh, I'm sure she does. It doesn't mean it actually happened, though. Maybe I should have spoken up about the cleaning sooner, instead of letting my frustration build up. Then this would have happened sooner. And I want to be fair and acknowledge that she has cleaned the house before. Yeah, not recently, though. It's like, you don't get credit for historical cleaning when the house is currently dirty. My issue isn't that she has literally never cleaned. My issue is that I felt was happening recently while we were both living here. So now I'm leaving it to the potatoes. Am I the asshole for confronting my roommate about the cleaning and hygiene issues, especially after we had become so close? Was I wrong for asking her to contribute more to the shared spaces? Or was I simply fed up after repeatedly cleaning and finally decided that enough was enough? Because I never thought the roommate I once considered my sister would become the person I now avoid in my own home. So, no, you aren't. I mean, I think that this is one of those stories where the answer is obviously not. Now, You say you became close. Now, I'd wonder how much of that was sincerely felt on both sides, given that she just threw away an apparent very close friendship. I'm sure it meant a lot to you, but I don't think it meant as much to her. But that's not really the issue here. That's just my feeling, given how casually and callously she seems to have thrown away that bond over something that, I mean, you say you confronted her. I didn't even sound like a confrontation. You asked a simple question. You didn't demand that she clean. You asked, can you clean? And then she claims she told you something you don't remember, knowing that you have memory issues. I'm assuming she knows that, so she could have just clarified it for you. No, I don't think you're in the wrong, and I'm sorry you're stuck in this living situation, but I certainly don't think it should continue when the lease is up, whenever that might be, because I really don't know how long you're going to be stuck there with this person. Maybe they'll have an awakening. Maybe they'll realize, me in my advanced years, I should be more mature and more responsible. And it is not fair that the cleaning is not split equally, and I recognize that it isn't split equally. And, yeah. It's probably not going to happen, but you never know. She might actually grow up. Also, I'm just going to add, she might be 24. It sounds like she's got a lot of growing up to do. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Big thanks to everyone who allowed me to use their stories. If you'd like to support this channel and help keep the lights on around here, because, well, currently it's 1, 2, 3 lights to film a video. Whew. You know, that's not really that expensive. But if you'd like to help keep the lights on around here, you can sign up for my Patreon page, and you'll get early access to all the videos at once on Monday for as little as $1 or more a month. It's just $1 minimum. We happily take more. You just pay what you feel, and you get early access to all the videos at once on Monday. There's also my merchandise store, which is over on Teespring, my Discord server, my Threads account, and my email, should you need to contact me, is kingofthecities@gmail.com. And that's everything for now. So until next time, thank you very much for watching, and take very good care of yourselves.